This is Unit S Concept 7, and I'm doing number 4. So the problem is cosine x over 2 minus sine x equal to 0. The first thing you want to do is to replace cosine x over 2 with a half angle formula. So if you look at your paper, cosine u over 2 is equal to positive negative radical 1 plus cosine u over 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug this into here. Once you do that, you're just going to carry down the sine x down. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to get rid of this radical sign, and the only way to do that is to square it. But if you start squaring it now, you're going to have to FOIL this whole thing, and it's just going to be a mess. So what you want to do is to add sine of x on both sides to get it over on the right. And then afterwards, you can then continue to square it. So when you square it, you're going to have 1 plus cosine x over 2 without the radical equal to sine squared of x. Afterwards, what we're trying to do is to get this whole thing equal to 0 again. So what we're going to do is to multiply 2 on both sides to cancel out the 2 in the denominator, and then subtract cosine of x and subtract 1. So what you're going to end up with is 2 sine squared x minus cosine x minus 1 equal to 0. Now if you notice, the problem has a cosine and a sine, and you can't really work with it. So we're going to use the Pythagorean identity from Unit Q, which I had written over here. So it's going to be sine squared of x is equal to 1 minus cosine squared x. What you're going to do is you're going to plug 1 minus cosine squared of x back into this equation, and therefore sine squared of x is going to disappear. So what we're going to have is 2 times 1 minus cosine squared of x minus cosine x minus 1. You distribute the negative 2 into the problem, and once you distribute that, you're going to have a 2 in the front, and that 2 can be subtracted with 1, so you're going to end up with plus 1. After that, since we see that there's a negative in the first term, we don't really want it there, so what we're going to do is factor out a negative 1, which is going to change the whole sign of this equation. So we're going to have 2 cosine squared x plus cosine of x minus 1 equal to 0. Then you can continue to FOIL it out, and once you FOIL it out, you're going to get 2 cosine x minus 1, and then the other one is going to be cosine x plus 1. Then you can use the zero product property and set both of these equal to 0, as I had set it right here. So for this one, you're going to solve it, and you're going to solve for cosine of x. What you're going to do is add 1 to both sides and then divide it by 2, and you're going to get cosine x equal to 1/2. On this side, you're going to subtract 1, and you're going to get cosine of x equal to negative 1. Now, if you look on your unit circle, cosine of x equal to 1/2 has the x value of 1/2 in the 60 degrees and the 300 degrees. And 180 has an ordered pair of negative 1 in the x value, so therefore that's going to be your degrees. But before you can say that these are your answers, you have to check for extraneous solutions. You have to check for extraneous solutions because since we had squared both sides in the beginning, it can give us many answers that won't be true and won't work for the equation. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring back the equation, the original equation, down, which is going to be cosine x over 2 minus sine x equal to 0, and you're going to plug each value in, and then replace it with one of the values from the ordered pair and see if it equals to 0 or not. So for 60, since 60 is equal to x, and when you plug 60 up here and you divide it by 2, it's going to be equal to 30. So we write cosine of 30 minus sine 60 is equal to something. So cosine of 30 is radical 3 over 2 minus radical 3 over 2 from the sine 60, and it's a 0, so that works. For 300, cosine of 150 is negative radical 3 over 2, and then sine of 300 is negative radical 3 over 2, and then you subtract it. These minus signs cancel out, and it equals a positive. So the negative and the positive, it equals to 0. So 300 also works. And 180, cosine of 90 is 0, and then sine of 180 is 0. So 0 minus 0 is equal to 0. In conclusion, all of these answers work. So you have to change the degrees to radians now in order to get the full answer. So 60 degrees, it's going to be pi over 3. 300, it's going to be 5 pi over 3, and 180 is going to be pi. And the whole thing is your answer. Okay, bye.